Howdy, folks, and welcome to another day in the Milky Way. Oh boy, do we got a good show for you! Thank you for coming. Well, we got action-packed adventure from Buffalo Bill. Continuing on with our story. This is chapter third. This is part three. We're gonna pick up right where we left off. Remember, this will probably be in a bundle, and you can play them one right after the other later on. And this is Red Plume's Tracks. I hope you enjoy this stuff. It's kind of a break from all the other stuff we do. It's just to have fun. So don't think, oh, he's abandoning, anything else. We're just doing this to have fun. Sometimes you do the work. You have to sit back some days, and then you have to relax. Just have fun. Wipe your mind out. Get yourself a hot cup of coffee, or tea, or whatever beverage you like. Sit back and listen to some stuff from yesteryear. And I'll do my best to pronounce all the words right. And we'll get through this, and it'll be good. So I hope you're enjoying. And Buffalo Bill, where he picked up, he was in peril again. Of course, he's always in peril, some way or another, with some Indian chief. So let's join him now. Years and years ago, taking yourself back into the days when the Indians roamed the plains and the cowboys were guns on their side and they saved the damsel in distress. That's where we're going to go tonight. So with that, let's continue on with our story. Right there. Red Plume's Tracks, Chapter 6. Angry fire shone in the eyes of Cynthia, the sunflower, when the young Indian warrior Red Plume was seen bringing not only her horse and his horse, but another animal noted for spirit and speed for use of Kincha, the one-eyed watcher keeper over Cynthia. "Whoa!" cried the old witch. The sunflower sees how Red Plume obeys her wishes. Look at the horse he brings. It is neither one-eyed nor lame. Cynthia may ride. Kachaz rides with her. Chinda did. Oh, I guess I've been pronouncing that wrong. Chinda did not answer as Red Plume led the horses up, but her looks told him of her displeasure. "Kincha should take her blanket. It will be cold on the hills," said the warrior. "Red Plume is good. He cares for the feelings of the old," said the hag, and she went into the lodge to get a blanket. "Why did Red Plume disobey me?" asked Sinja, and angrily, as the other was gone. "That she might be alone in her ride with Red Plume," said the young Indian. "You will soon see why Red Plume brought that horse for Kincha." Kincha came out, and Red Plume assisted her to mount the horse, which he had saddled and bridled for her. The old hag put on a great many airs on receiving so much attention, and turned to Cincha and said, "We are now ready. Red Plume can wait on you." At the instant, Red Plume dexterously slipped one of the broad prods of the prickly pear, full of thorns, under the tail of the horse which Cincha rode. Cincha saw the action, and as the horse darted away with the old hag clinging to its back and tugging helplessly at the bridle, she understood the intentions of Red Plume. Cincha could hardly mount the horse which Red Plume held for her, for she was watching Cincha Kincha far off down the valley, as the horse madly rushed on, strung by torture. or stung. Yes, yes, those will sting you. It was good in Red Plume to get the old witch out of the way. I hate her. Red Plume will die to serve Sinja. Red Plume is very good, but he must be careful and not to show that he cares for Sinda. Yellow Bear will kill any one of who looks on her with eyes of love, as he did with noble white captive, whom he spared so long that he might teach Sinja how to read and speak papers and to write, so that he could read the news to Yellow Bear when he captured the mail bags of the palefaces. Does not Red Plume remember? Yes, Paleface prisoner was killed by Yellow Bear in his passion because the chief found him kneeling at the feet of the sunflower. Yes, Sinja, that with a sigh. I was sorry, though. I felt no love for him, but this stranger who writes to me, I might love him. Why? The sunflower has never seen him. He is a mystery, like the sounds we hear in the forest. The young Indian spoke eagerly and seemed to wait her answer with impatience. The mystery is to me a delight, she said. He writes and says he loves me. He tells me that he has seen me when I did not know that he was near, and he will never be far from me, that he will watch over me if danger should approach, and he will read my wishes and carry them out when I least expect it. 3 letters, all left where I can find them, have reached my hand, and now I go for the 4th. Had Kincha ridden with us, I could not have gotten it, but I know I can trust Red Plume. He has been my playfellow ever since I can remember. He will be true to Sunflower, said young Indian, and though he may dare to love her, he will not be rash, as was the paleface who lost his life. That paleface was your friend, Red Plume. Yes, he was my friend, because I loved to serve the sunflower, but in his hour of doom, Red Plume could not raise a hand or speak a word to save him. The The anger of Yellow Bear is like that of a storm. Lightning comes and kills before warning is heard. The paleface died. He left but 2 friends to mourn him. One, Sinja, the sunflower. The other was Red Plume. True. Halt here, Red Plume. Watch while I go on and see if there is a speaking paper in the hollow tree. While Red Plumes reined in his horse, as she requested, the lovely girl rode on to an old tree, blasted by a thunderbolt years before, and dead and leafless. On into a small hollow, as high as she could reach, she thrust her hand and brought out a roll of white, thin bark. This she unrolled. It was full of writing, done in a plain hand, so like that of her pale-faced teacher, that she could read it readily. Not only in the writing, but the language was like his, and she could have fancied that these letters came from him had he not seen him perish with her own eyes. These letters were almost a transcript of such as he had written to her. Sinja sat motionless on her horse, reading the letter, while the young warrior watched her. It seemed strange, too, that he, by actions and words, professing love himself, should be pleased when he knew that she was reading of love from another. He was about to join her when he heard a crashing in the underbrush, and the next instant he saw the forms of a score of warriors breaking through a wild speed toward her. He dashed forward to throw his body between her and the peril. The Sioux! The Sioux! Armed only with a spear, the young brave dashed on while Cynthia, apparently panic-stricken, did not even urge her horse into action until it was too late, for as she saw the lance of Red Plume broken and himself made prisoner, she found her own horse seized by a brace of warriors, while a chief, by his dress and arms, rode to her side. "Who is this?" asked the Shoshone tongue. She dressed like the red maidens of the land, but her skin is white and her eyes are blue. "She is your captive. Let him go," said Cynthia. Sadly, she pointed to Red Plume, who was held firmly between the two warriors. You asked for him and not for yourself. He is not your brother. He is your husband." "No, I ask nothing for myself. I can die. That is enough. You are as beautiful as a red rose of the Sioux nation, whom we left far away on the banks of the Big Horn. We will take you there, that you may see her." "I have seen her. Her name is Dove Eye. But she is not there where you left her. I saw her last night. She was riding on a horse, fast bound, and Yellow Bear, the great chief of the Blackfeet, led the horse. She was his captive." The Sioux chief looked at Cynthia and was wondering, with a wandering eye. She spoke earnestly, as if she really had seen the Indian maiden. "The white flower speaks strange words. Can she say how Dove Eye looked?" "I can." Her long hair flowed down her back. She swept on, but her great black eyes flashed like fire. She wore about her neck a string of blue beads, and on her armlets of gold. The Sioux warriors listened in astonishment while the white captive thus described one whom they knew so well. "The white flower says that she saw a white dove last night." "Yes, the angel of dreams came to her with a picture in his hand. She saw him playing, but Yellow Bear has not come home. There is his village. He claims me as his child, but the dream angel says I'm not." The Sioux chief rode a little apart with all his warriors except for left to guard Cynthia and Red Plume. From time to time they looked upon her while they talked, but it looks like there was respect. After a short time, the young chief, evidently sub-chief, out of some independent scout, rode back to the side of Cynthia and said, "I am Young Bear, and the father of Dove Eagle is my chief. If his daughter is in the hands of Yellow Bear and White Flower, and Blackfoot chief must go with Young Bear or Young Beaver and remain in his hands until we meet Spotted Tail, our chief. We will not hurt you, but you must go." Cynthia allowed the young chief to take her bridle of her horse in his hand. Red Plume rode next to her, and they skirted the hills and rode in the direction of Wanda, with her warriors had taken. The party was too small to keep in the open valley where it might be discovered by a larger one, and young Beaver was evidently a cautious warrior. He rode on swiftly until the night was close at hand, and then saw before him a well-watered valley where he could find a good camping ground. He halted, seeing nothing to his alarm. The young chief dashed swiftly down the hillside with his braves and captives. Reaching the valley, they crossed at a gallop, and entered a grove of cottonwood trees on the river bank. Young Beaver leaped from his horse and then turned to Cynthia. As they did, so yells from fully 100 warriors broke in upon the ears, and before he and his braves had a chance to raise their weapons, many were stricken down in death, and the rest were captives. They had ridden right into the ambush of those who waited for them. Chapter 7. Buffalo Bill in Close Quarters. It was but a little while after Buffalo Bill had gotten to Powder Face, stowed away in his new hiding place, before it became light enough for him to think he could make out the movements of the Indians. If he was up at the top of one of the hills, which seemed by his height to overlap the rest, leaving his guns before removing his hunting coat and belt, and embraced the trunk of the tallest looking cottonwood, and soon reached the nearest branches. It was darker up among the thick branches than he thought it would be, and was certain he could not distinguish things on the plain very clearly. So Fire would wait and take things easily. Thicker grew the branches as he ascended, but that was about all the better he could do for himself. There would be less danger of him being discovered from his lofty outlook. Of course, that's how it always goes. When or he was almost to the top when he paused to rest again, and then he started, for he heard a strange purring noise close to him, and he knew, even though seeing it, that he was close to a panther, probably a cougar panther singlet, and that most likely her young were with her in the same tree. Buffalo Bill wished then that he had at least brought his knife and pistols with him. He looked cautiously around, and soon saw two great balls of fire, then a lesser pair in advance of the first, and he kept his eyes fixed on the direction he soon saw, and shaped the animals as they crouched on a limb higher than that he was resting. He could hear the purring noise made by the beast, as if to assure him, young one, of protection. If he moved either way, to go higher or descend, the animal might take it as aggressive action and pitch upon him, and he did not wish to risk rough and tumbling fighting with a panther up in a tree at least 60 or 70 feet from the ground. He kept his eyes fixed on the furious orbs of the larger animal, and remained motionless, waiting for daylight to come, as he knew that such beasts, unless wounded, will not, as a general thing, face a human being in the light of day. At least the animal began to get uneasy. It seemed to desire to get between him and its cub. Buffalo Bill felt the limbs shake with its great weight. It crept on until it passed and over the cub, and was almost up the trunk of the tree, and certainly within twice its length of him. Here it stopped, and roaring up against the trunk of the tree, scattered against the bark with its claws, as if it would terrify its visitor. Buffalo Bill was content that it should use its claws in that way, as long as they did not come in contact with his bark. He could not plainly see the shape of his large astonishment, and the animal reared up as its full height on the branch, and peering from the animal the tree trunk at Buffalo Bill. It was a war on now, but a strange war, the human eye against that of the beast. Buffalo Bill knew well if his glance wavered, he was lost. The animal would leap upon him in a second if he winked or even nodded the eye, or in the eye. Oh, it was a charm in which it held. Thus, for minutes, the man and the panther stood. Then the panther drew back, very slowly, still keeping an eye on him until the intervening branch broke the spell. Then, with a wild scream, the panther leaped off into the branches of another tree, followed by its cub, and Buffalo Bill, drawing a knife, breathing, said, "Thank heaven! 'Twas about the worst scare of my whole life." The cry of the animal, as it leaped from tree to tree, was heard farther and farther away, and then the hunter, now satisfied with his peril, was over from the source at least, turned to see the Indians were gone, or what they were doing. He gave one earnest look at the scene, almost within rifle shot, and then said quickly, "I'll stop that game if I die." Well, we're going to stop right there. Chapter 8, The Daring Rescue. So join me next time as we continue on with Chapter 8, The Daring Rescue, Buffalo Bill. There you go, people. I hope you all enjoyed that. That was a great one. Boy, one long chapter after another in this one. But anyway, I hope you're all enjoying this. It was a great show. We'll continue on with Buffalo Bill 4 soon, I promise. Anyway, thank you all for being here. Remember, go out and do something nice. Remember to be the frequency you want to receive, everyone. I love y'all. Peace, everyone.